Hello, this is Hui. Welcome to watch my video C++ programming on Linux. In previous video, we made a demonstration how to set up, how to create a program to connect to the DynamoDB, Amazon AWS DynamoDB to query to get items from the Dynamo database. In this short video, we are going to make an example to demonstrate how to load a data from JSON file, insert into Dynamo database. Here on the Amazon AWS DynamoDB service, and I have a typical one table called the player, and this table have 3 items, which each item we have ID, first name, gender, last name, and the level, and ID is the primary key. So in this short video, we're going to have create a JSON file. So here is our JSON files. We have ID, first name, last name, gender, and the level, and the ID is 1233, and we're going to write a program to load this, insert into our Dynamo database. So let's go to other video. Here, so we just create a very simple program to load JSON file.cpp. So because of loading, insert into the DynamoDB in the AWS DynamoDB, it's called a put item request. So you have to include these header files because we are going to load from the JSON files. So we have to parse JSON. So we have to include the JSON serializer.h, these header files. So here is the JSON files example we're going to load. Because we loaded to the specified table, so we have to be exact the same number of items in the JSON files. So we have ID, first name, last name, gender, and the levels. So the program we wanted to use is we call the load JSON files. From first take 2 arguments. First is the table, so which table indicate which table we are going to load, and the second we are going to the JSON file name, which indicate which file we are going to open to load. So after verify the argument counting is correct, and the first sense we're going to open the file. Step 1, open the JSON file and load into the SS stream. So we create a stream called SS. So we assign the file and the file name from the argument 2, and we just open. We just use a get line from the file to the line, and then we put line into the SS stream. So finish the load, we close the files. So currently we just load file into our SS streams, and after that we just start our AWS SDK. That's 2 typical method. We're going to start an option, SDK option to the option, and the initial API. For the SDK application, this is a typical template. We are going to call the AWS SDK option, and we initialize our API, and we can do all our application started after, and after that we just call the shutdown API options. So here we just start our API SDK AWS SDK API, and the first thing we do, we create a variable object AWS string called the table, get from the argument 1, which is the table, and we instantialize the JSON object called myJSON, JSON value object called myJSON, which we get from the SS, which is a stream we just load from the JSON files, and then we convert this called the JSON objects, which we using the JSON value, the view as object, and the get old object. So in the JSON objects, so the old object means the old key value pair. So for example, in this JSON files, this is one object, and 2 objects, 3 objects, and 4 objects, and 5 objects. So all together is the JSON objects. So so currently our J object is all the objects we converted, parsed from our JSON SS. So, and then we typically, for the DynamoDB, we have to start instantialize the client configure with using the AWS client configuration, get client one, and we instantialize our DynamoDB client. So we name it the Dynamo client, which get this configuration. So, and then we get, because we set up the put request, so it's a put item request, and we name it REQ, and this REQ have to be set the table name, which is which table we are going to put, and we centralize the attribute value, which also using the attribute. So the reason we use the attribute value, because the DynamoDB JSON is not like this standard like JSON is a key value. So this DynamoDB JSON looks like, you know, this is a key, is a string, but the value is the attribute wicket value, because they have specified which date type and which value. So that, you know, here is the S stands for the string. So here is all the possible date type. It's S is a string, N is a number, and L is a list, SS is a string set. So currently we have simple, just everybody is S. And so now, we started our attribute value, and we make a loop from all the objects. We get a my object. So each object, as we say, is the key value. So each object is the first, is the key, and we convert to the C string assigned to the AWS string, we call the S key, and the second value as a string, and we saw C string is, we call the S the value. So it's got the key and the value of each. So what we do is we have to we have the attribute AV is the attribute value. So with attribute value, we have to set S, means it's a string with this value, and our request, we use an add item to add key and the value. So after finish the loop, so we load all the JSON files key value into our request. So after we got our request, very simple, we call the Dynamo client, and we call the put item, pass the request, and the return called the result, and which is the put item output outcome and the type. So if this result is a success, and we say so load the JSON file successfully, otherwise we just print out error message and tell what's error message. Finish loading, we just shut down our API. So now we return 0 and finish the program. So let's compile this and make this. Now it's compiling. So as we say, when we compiling, we need to use two library, not standard library. One is the AWS CPP SDK core. This is a core library, and also as the AWS CPP SDK DynamoDB. That's two library we need to use. And then our our program is here, and we're going to say the table is PLAYER. We are going to load it in. The file is called the JSON file. So before we just here is our JSON file. Okay. So here is a JSON file. That's what we calculate. Its ID is 1233. Here on the table before we loading, we have 1234, 1235, and 1236. So now we try to load our program. So this is called a JSON loader. PLAYER is the table name, and JSON files. So you can see we printed out is John, male, 133, last name is Pasquale, level is beginner, and we got a load successfully. Let's check on our AWS. So let's refresh. And let's go to the table player. And let's go to items. Scan the table. You can see now we have 4 records and 1233, John, male, Pasquale, beginner. Hello, this is Hui. Thanks to watch my video. Hopefully this is useful, enjoyable, and it's going to be great to have your feedback. Thank you.